was awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Low News, where we interview dope people in the community doing dope things. And today is no different. I am so excited to have Ron Book, chairman of the Homeless Trust, to talk about some of the great things that the organization is doing, but most importantly, why we should be in tune to the homeless crisis in our community, what we need to do to help this organization help the people who are experiencing homelessness, and just what is involved in that whole process and why it's important. Before we get started, I saw a very great video that they did that broke down what the Homeless Trust is, how they got started, and just information for us in the community to know when we are dealing with people who are experiencing homelessness and our best ways to help. So I'm going to share that, and we're going to bring Ron on the screen. So stay tuned.
See this? This is spare change. When you give your spare change to people on the street, it makes you feel good. And that's about it. It doesn't do any good, and it might lead to a whole lot of bad. But you already knew that.
When someone gave me money on the streets, I bought liquor, I bought drugs. Instead of doing the right thing with it, I was just going to do what I normally do with it. Get high off it.
Now, see this? This is real change.
It's like, I can't believe I'm here. If I look back 5 years ago, there is no way I could have seen myself here. They put me in housing. I have a new home.
Real change is happening all over Miami-Dade County because 25 years ago, our community decided to do something revolutionary in how we were addressing homelessness. We committed to turn spare change into real change. It's called the Food and Beverage Tax, and here's how it works. Certain restaurants in Miami-Dade add to their customers' bill 1 additional penny for every dollar that's spent. That money is then managed by the Miami-Dade County Homeless Trust to fund shelters, evidence-based programs, and services that help get people off the streets and into housing. It's 1 penny per dollar, but those pennies add up. This year, the food and beverage tax will raise more than $26 million. That money is used to provide housing, medical and mental health services, and other supportive services to the more than 8,000 people in our care. It also pays for outreach services to the remaining 1,100 people on our streets as we work tirelessly to get them stably housed. The money raised over 25 years has transformed the lives of more than 200,000 people. Enough to fill a stadium 4 times. Without the funding that these restaurants collect on our behalf, there is no telling how many people would be living on our streets. So remember, when you give money to people on the street, that's just spare change. The lives that have been transformed through the food and beverage tax, that's real change.
to share those stats at the end. That was so powerful. That was so powerful. And I wanted to share the stats that I showed at the end, because when you think of comparison of what's going on in our community and how many people are homeless, it puts it in perspective for you. And a person that I know who could put this in best perspective for us is Ron Book, chairman of the Homeless Trust. Let's bring him on the screen. Welcome, Ron. Hey, what's up?
Thank you so much, Janae. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you and to your viewers and listeners today. And I have to tell you, I want to take 1 second
Of
to make
course.
a comment about the woman whose picture was the last piece of that video. If you want to talk about great moments over the 25 years I've had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Miami-Dade Homeless Trust, that was one of those moments. Ashley Foster is a veteran, several children, and she's living in a car with her kids. And she was our feature victory the day that Dr. Ben Carson came to town and we declared the end. We reached the end. Forget declaring. We reached the end. 0 veterans homelessness in our community. And she was part of what that was about.
Wow.
And she has continued. You know that you've made an impact on someone you've helped when they pick up that torch and they run with it. And she is out creating programs every day to help other veterans who are homeless and other individuals, in particular of color, who she felt very strongly didn't have enough voice. And we've certainly learned over time about that disproportionate number of individuals in those demographic groups that experience greater percentage of homelessness. So just thank you for the opportunity to spend some time and talk about homelessness and the impacts of COVID and the like.
Yes, and you know what? When I saw the video, her story, her testimony, like, it really touched me. And I was like, I haven't done this. Like, I haven't showed like videos during my interviews, but I was like, people need to see this. Like, that forever changed me when I saw that, because it was information I didn't even know. I thought I knew about a lot about charity and giving to homeless organizations. I had no idea that, giving change or giving money could be hurtful.
Look, everybody wants to make a difference. If we've learned nothing in 26 years of the Homeless Trust's existence in the community, we've learned that Miami-Dade County is a community that cares. We know that we live in a village that is unlike any other place in the United States. When we kicked off the Homeless Trust 25 years ago, San Francisco, Seattle, LA, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Washington. We were all in a similar place with about 8,000 to 10,000 people unsheltered living on our streets. Tonight, when people put their heads on their pillows in our community, well, there'll still be about 1,020 too many unsheltered people living on our streets. When you compare that 90% decrease in unsheltered population to the 65,000 in Los Angeles, the 58,000 in San Francisco, the 50,000 that live in New York, all in this unsheltered world, we have clearly and absolutely made a difference that continues to be sustained. But what we're facing as we move through COVID and as we move into these next phases of what we're going to be will determine what our community is like. But let's be clear. When people drop spare change into buckets, cups, and hats, they get some instant gratification. They're doing nothing to help us end homelessness. It's not buying beds, it's not buying services, and it's probably not even buying food. When they feed people on the streets, it makes you feel good. You've driven up, you've dropped 10 boxes of pizzas, 25 subs, you've cooked a meal, taken it to the streets. You're helping people sustain themselves on the streets. We need to bring them in. We need to put them into shelter. We need to put them into housing. That keeps them there. It tells them the conduct, the behavior of living on the streets is okay, and it should not be. We're about ending homelessness, not sustaining it. So
Man, I love how you broke that down. No, I love how you broke that down. And a lot of people need to hear that. You know, Ron, we've heard so much about COVID, but not a lot about how it's affecting our homeless population. What are two must know facts that people need to know about homelessness and COVID in Miami?
look, we have figured out how to keep this population healthy and safe. We have figured it out by doing a number of things. First of all, we started our effort in February, not in March like the rest of the community. We went
Mm,
out to the streets in English, Spanish, and Creole. We took written material, we took masks, we took, if you will, the gowns, because then everybody thought you still needed to have gowns. We took hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes. We needed to teach the people on the streets about personal hygiene again. We needed to teach them about washing their hands every hour. We
mm-hmm.
needed to teach them about social distancing. Simultaneous with that, we had the need to create new protocols for our shelters. You know, people leave the shelters during the day. They go to work,
Oh,
they
yeah.
go to get their services, they go to job interviews. We couldn't just let people walk back in as though it was normal. So we had to create protocols. There were times at which we had 8 or 10 conference halls going at the same day with 40 or 50 of our providers. What happened at the Salvation Army today? What happened at Chapman today? What happened at Lotus House? What happened at the Rescue Mission? We needed to compare notes so that we made adjustments. We quickly launched a hotel program for quarantine and isolation. We were listening not to Donald Trump. We were listening to what the CDC said. We
Yeah.
were listening to what Fauci and Birx were telling us. And they told us get senior citizens and those with underlying health care conditions into quarantine and isolation. We
Mm,
never expected it to be this long. But I will tell you that the first hotel we contracted with was in Overtown. Not
wow.
because we didn't intend to use it, but the Dunn Josephine was a hotel that was owned by Black entrepreneurship and female Black ownership.
Yep.
It was important to me to send a message that if we were going to quarantine and isolate people in that part of our community where we knew we had a disproportionate number of homeless that were people of color, we didn't want to take them away from their community and move them to Homestead or move them to Northeast Dade. We have served close to 90,000 meals to those people, 3 meals a day. We've had more than 2,250 individuals that we have been providing quarantine and isolation services to. We have now tested. Our testing program for the homeless is the most robust testing program thanks to our partnership with the state's Division of Emergency Management and Director Jared Moskowitz, who helped make sure that every week in and week out, not some garbage test, not some garbage rapid test, but the PCR test, so that we were testing homeless people the way we were testing others who mattered. Well, homeless people matter to me, and they matter to our community. And why would we give them a substandard test? We've tested over 13,000 people in the homeless continuum.
Wow.
Our average positivity rate is 1.3%, not 5, not 10, not 15, not 20. No urban community in the country has had that aggressive of a testing plan, and nobody that has tested has had a 1.3% average positivity rate. And you can't play with the numbers because the test gets done, it goes to the labs, and it comes directly back. You can't play with them. Think about this: fewer than 30 individuals in the homeless world have been hospitalized. Fewer than 260 individuals have tested positive. And while I'm going to use the word only to describe the next statistic, I don't want to minimize what I'm saying. And only 7 individuals in our homeless continuum have lost their lives during this pandemic since the beginning in February. When I got the phone call on a Saturday morning, it was late April already, when we lost the first life. I went into this funk for 3 days. I have lulled myself into believing all of what we were doing to mitigate, all we were doing to re-educate and teach proper personal hygiene, all of the protocols that our shelters were using were working, and we were never going to lose a life. I was wrong about that. But all of this is testament to the 286 heroes in my world. I consider all the healthcare workers at Jackson,
Yes.
all of the other hospitals in our community to be heroes. I consider the police and the firefighters that have been engaged in the effort to be heroes. But the most undersung heroes in our community are those individuals in our homeless continuum who put their lives on hold for the last 10 months, put their families' lives on hold because often they were in quarantine and isolation.
Yeah.
Put their lives on hold to save the lives of others. 286 brave men and women who risked their lives for others. Those are my heroes.
Yeah,
Those are
they're everyone's heroes, and I love the fact that you like you said, any life loss is a heartbreak, and rest in peace, and my condolences to the people that you guys lost. But your numbers are drastically lower than the national average, and that just says a lot about how seriously you guys took, and even the state and local averages. That just shows how seriously you guys took the pandemic and keeping the homeless population in your care safe. Ron, homelessness impacts the Black community more than any other demographic group. I understand about 65% of families experiencing homelessness are Black. What is the trust doing to address issues specific to the Black community in Miami, and specifically issues of equality? And can you talk to that?
Look, you only need to lay 2 numbers on the table. Give or take, approximately 19% of Miami-Dade's population are individuals of color.
Mm.
When you then lay down the 65, 66% of the families experiencing homelessness are individuals of color, then you understand that we have got to focus and understand disparities. We need to understand those low wage earner families and those extremely low wage earner families. We are working diligently, and we didn't start during COVID, to focus on risk assessments with our contracted providers. We're asking them the tough questions. Has your agency adopted a racial equity statement?
Mm.
Have you not just adopted it? Are you paying attention to it? Have you looked at the racial composition of your board? Have you looked at the racial composition of your staff? Look, if I'm serving people of color in a particular shelter and 90% of my staff is white, what does that say about me? What does that say about people we're funding if I'm talking about trying to understand the disparities in our community? And the Homeless Trust is conducting its own risk assessments. We've looked at the composition of our own board. We've looked at the composition of our committees, and I am comfortable and I am confident that we mirror what our population we are trying to serve mirrors. We've adopted restorative justice practice as well to mitigate discharges from our program, to make sure we're not putting people on the streets we shouldn't be, people of color. We've adopted a system-wide housing first framework that promotes housing first and foremost without service participation requirements, if you will, no barriers of entry. No barriers of entry. We're not going to require you as a condition of providing you housing that you get drug tested, that you get alcohol tested, that you participate in counseling, that you participate in mental health programs. But we promise them that somebody, their caseworker, is going to knock on their door every day, every other day, and certainly not any more than every third day. And we're going to continue to work those individuals until they ultimately take us up on services. Because here's what we're sure of. We're sure, we are sure that there are people out there whose lives we turn around. You know the gentleman that led Amendment 4?
Desmond Meade.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how long Desmond Meade lived homeless in our community? Do you know how
No.
long he was a crackhead on our streets?
Wow.
13 years.
My God.
13 years my friend Desmond lived on Miami-Dade County streets. And he finally let us bring him in. And he finally let us help him. And he finally took us up on services. And when Desmond asked if there was any opportunity for us to find resources for him to finish part of his education at Miami-Dade College, we found those resources. And when he decided he wanted to go to FIU to finish and get his bachelor's degree, we helped find those resources for him. And then when he finished, he wasn't done. He
He sure
wanted to go
wasn't.
to law school, and we helped him find the resources to go to law school. Without Desmond Meade, without the work that we do, Desmond Meade remains a crackhead or not here at all. Because Desmond was on that kind of a pathway. And look at him today. Look at the difference he's made on several million lives in Florida, on several million lives around America.
Yes.
That's what we do. And for every story like Desmond, I got another 1,000 of them because that's what we do. And we never give up. We never give up. There are people on the streets today. We've probably seen them 200 times, but we never quit because eventually they're going to take us up on our services. One of the reasons why we run Project Lazarus, a program that takes 5 healthcare professionals to the streets 7 days a week, 365 days a year, Christmas and Thanksgiving included. And we take psychotropic medicines to individuals who suffer from mental health issues on the streets. Why? Because we know that if they're stable, they're safer to themselves, they're
Yes.
safer to the community. And my 21 outreach teams that hit the streets, the green skirts that hit the streets every day, trying to coax people to come in, they're certainly going to be more approachable in a lucid, stable state than if they are unstable. And we take those medical professionals to the streets every single day of the week because it makes a difference on those lives. And eventually they do come in.
Man, Ron, this is amazing. And that story that you told about Desmond Meade gave me goosebumps. I knew that he was a returning citizen, but I had no idea that he experienced homelessness for that long. And that's just a testament to the work and the importance of the Homeless Trust and what you guys do. Ron, there are around 7,100 evictions already set to be filed in the next month. And I just wanted to pivot to that because we spoke about that a little bit before we got started. Is the Homeless Trust working to help in this area, given that so many people will face homelessness? And what suggestions do you have for people if they need help?
Well, first of all, I try to do this without crying. It's very hard for me to do.
Yeah,
We
and I
take
love your
that
passion.
so much the way we started our whole COVID protection program. In We kicked it off February 22nd. It was a Saturday. I remember it like it was yesterday. We started about 8 weeks ago developing an eviction foreclosure plan. Let me put this in the right perspective. There's 7,100 plus cases that have already been filed and are pending in the courts. They were filed prior to, if you will, the moratorium. we have the CARES Act moratorium, we have the governor's moratorium, we have the CDC moratorium. And while that moratorium was to expire December 31st, the CARES Act bill that they passed yesterday in Congress late last night gives us another 30 days, but that is almost irrelevant to me.
30 days.
But at the end of the day, just those 7,100 represent over 20,000 lives. 20,000 lives. We know from talking to a couple of law firms that handle the large apartment management companies that they have many thousands more that are ready to be filed the day the moratorium gets lifted, or the following week, or the following week. So,
Ron, sorry to interrupt, but is that just 7,100 just in Dade County alone?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we are facing many, many thousands more. And so let me put into perspective, as we were talking before we went on the air, back in 2008, 2009, when we were in that economic downturn that lasted from 2007 to 2013, the regulators put many things in place that create barriers to rent apartments. And one of those barriers is a minimum credit score. And if you ultimately end up with an eviction order signed by a judge or a foreclosure act signed by a judge, immediately your credit score is going into the garbage can. If you are individuals, and the bulk of these 7,100 actions, 20,000 plus people, have never been homeless. We believe close to 25 or 30% are elderly. If your mother or your father, God forbid, or your grandparents were homeless one day, a week, a month, a year, or lived in a shelter, can you imagine if, and let's be clear,
Yeah.
our shelters are at capacity. We don't have housing. We will be saying to an elderly person, you made it through COVID. I'm really sorry, but you've been evicted and you'll never be able to rent again because your credit score will never be okay. We will be killing people in our community. We'll be killing all over America.
Wow.
But we do have a plan. It's three-pronged. First was, if you will, to identify who are we looking at? Where are those 7,100 cases? Where are the ones that we know are getting ready to be filed? What are those zip codes? We needed to identify them. Part two, educate. We've got an ad campaign and we've got materials already developed. Targeting who? We already know. The low wage earners, the extremely low wage earners, they're the ones we got to get a net under. We got to catch them. And then we've got to negotiate settlements before eviction and foreclosure orders get signed. The third piece is you implement, but implementation means you have gotten cash. You've gotten 20 or 30 million dollars. And what we hope for 100 or 200 lawyers to work pro bono for us to help negotiate leverage with these management companies, reduced amounts to keep people housed. If they end up on the streets, we're done. We're finished. And just yesterday, we had asked Carlos Magoya and one of his top staff, Esther Avelita, to go into the Jackson records and look at the following. Today, how many times a year does the average chronic individual present at the Jackson Memorial Emergency Room? What are the average number of times they visit? And of those average number of times, what is the average number of inpatient stays that come from the ER versus being released immediately? And then what, if you will, of those average number of days, what is the cost? That cost is just shy of $17 million. So anybody that questions whether it's intelligent to provide financial resources to keep people housed and to keep their electric on, they don't think that's a wise decision. Let me tell you what 1,020 cost you today, and let me tell you what 20,000 will cost you tomorrow. We'll be bankrupt.
Wow. Man, Ron, I love how you break this stuff down for us because people just don't know. And I love that you're in the trenches and you can break all of this down for us. Ron, we're in holiday season. And we know this is a tough time for so many people. Depression, like you said, job loss. And Christmas is right around the corner. And lots of people want to help the homeless. What advice do you have for them? We spoke about it a little bit earlier with the change and that not being the best thing or money to give to people on the street. So what advice do you have to people who want to give to the homeless during the holiday season?
Let me buy 30 seconds more on eviction before I do that.
No, sure.
Look, if you know somebody or if you are on the verge of an eviction or an imminent foreclosure, please go to stopevictionnow.org. Stopevictionnow.org. If you forget stopevictionnow.org, remember homelesstrust.org. Go online. We are working hard to provide resources to keep you housed, to facilitate emergency rental assistance funding. We are cautiously optimistic that out of that 5,600-page bill they passed last night, that we are going to get a mother load of if you will, non-constricted monies that we can put out right away. Because if I can't put that money out until somebody's already got an eviction order, I've already screwed them. They're done. They're never going to rent again. So remember, stopevictionnow.org, and I can assure you, we have postcards that are going to go out to people we have targeted in this community because we know it's coming. Christmas around the corner. Let me talk about do's and don'ts. Commit to volunteering services and talents to providers. Hire the homeless. And we need move-in kits. We need eating utensils, pillows, linens, eating utensils, pillows, linens, towels, sheets, move-in kits. We need them, and we need a lot of them. And you can go to homelesstrust.org and hit the prompt, get involved. We've got opportunities like that. Don't feed people on the streets. Don't drop spare change into buckets, cups, and hats. It does nothing to help us end homelessness. You facilitate keeping people on the street. It creates health hazards. It makes it difficult to get those that suffer from both the co-occurring mental health, substance abuse, alcohol issues. It makes it difficult. Creates challenges that take us away from doing the work we need to do. We need you. In 26 years of chairing and leading this body in our community, the privilege I get to doing that the mayor and the Board of County Commission have allowed us to do, to continue to serve. I've never asked the community to help. I've never said we need help. We're desperate. We're going to the community in the coming couple of days with a request to open their checkbooks, send their spare change. We need help. We need help to house people. We need to know where there's housing opportunities. We need moving kids. We don't want our loved ones. We don't want our friends. We don't want our families to become homeless.
And Ron, I love it. And I'm putting the information up on the screen for everyone. And so I have head to the homelesstrust.org to get involved and ask if you want to make donations, send moving kits and all the things that Ron mentioned as well. And I'm also going to put back on the screen, I had the eviction information as well for people. If you know anyone experiencing homelessness, or if you yourself are about to experience it, head to the information on the screen. We're going to put that back up for everyone just so we can have it out there. Ron, I really appreciate you taking time to break this down, to let us know the importance of the work that you do and why we need to get involved. And God bless you for this work. You've been doing this for almost 30 years. So my hat's off to you. My heart is for people who do this type of work. You're the angels, you're the heroes, because people don't understand how much is needed. And we need people like you to lead the way for us. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Just know that the opportunities are there for people to get involved and to help us make a difference and to help save lives.
Man, guys, everyone, let's make sure we go to homelesstrust.org. Had to get involved. If you want to make a donation, also I want to put back on the screen any information. If you know someone who's going to be experiencing an eviction, head to stopevictionnow.org, and the Homeless Trust will be able to help them through that process. Just guys, let's get the information out there. And again, Ron, thank you so much. Again, happy holidays. God bless you for all the work that you do. And my heart's out to you and everyone at the Homeless Trust. Thank you.
You for helping us make a difference.
Awesome. Of course. Anytime. I got to have you back on, because I would love to know your story and how you got involved in all of this. So we got to do a part 2.
You tell me when. I'll make myself available anytime you give me the opportunity.
We definitely will. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Janae.
Man, guys, the information is on the screen. Like I said, let's make sure we help people who are experiencing homelessness right now. COVID has things maximized. And so if it's tough for us, it's definitely tough for people who are experiencing homelessness. Again, head to stopevictionnow.org if you know someone who's about to be evicted. And also head to the homelesstrust.org if you want to get involved, if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate any of the items like linen for the move-in kits, all the things that Ron mentioned, go to get involved. And also connect with the Homeless Trust on Facebook and Instagram so you can stay up to date on what they are doing in the community. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching another episode of High Low News. Again, I want to put these stats on the screen. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is just madness. 3,200, nearly 3,200 students attend Miami Central, Miami Jackson High School. Nearly 1,200 people live in Miami's Upper East Side. 6,000 people could sleep on a vacation cruise. And look in comparison, 8,000 people that the Homeless Trust is helping. Look at those numbers in comparison and see that we have a problem that we need to make sure that we address and don't let it out of hand. Again, thank you guys for watching another episode of High Low News. Support the Homeless Trust and all that they're doing right now in the holidays. And again, make sure you like and subscribe. Tell a friend, subscribe to our newsletter. And as always, thank you for supporting High Low News and watching us. Have a happy holidays, everyone.